Tyrell's finery will be stripped away, their lies knocked down, their true hearts laid bare for all to see. And so it will be for all of us, high and low alike. What will we find when we strip away your finery?
What the flick, everybody? Game of Thrones, episode 7, The Gift.
Oh.
And the gift, as we learned there at the end, was, in fact, Tyrion.
It's
Correct.
weird, because I always pronounced it the gift.
Too.
The gift.
Oh,
but then it came out that it's a gift, and that's right.
Right, that's right. Now,
The gift is also the land below the wall, like south of the wall.
Yeah, that's the name of Brandon's gift.
That he is sort of giving to the wildlings. That is also called the gift.
And was that, I mean, is that
he didn't name it the gift, but it's been called the gift for hundreds of years.
that who's giving to the what, John?
That Jon is letting them colonize soon, if they agree to this thing that's coming up the next episode.
Yeah. Which would seem it's going to, based on what you just said.
Yeah.
But that makes sense.
No, I mean,
Well,
he
that's
gave
the
it to
plan.
them
He
in terms of
announced-
he went to Tormund and said, I will give this to you. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But is it Brandon's gift? Is it like Brandon Stark's gift?
Yeah,
Is
I think it was, yeah.
I think it was,
He gave
yeah.
it to the wall in exchange for them guarding the north.
Yeah, got it.
What does Brandon have to do with it?
He was a Stark
name of the
hundreds of
gift.
years ago.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah.
Not Brandon.
But anyway, they always do the double meanings or triple meanings of the
Okay, yeah.
thing.
All right, we've led with the least interesting thing that happened. In the episode. Congratulations.
Hook 'em. You want to hook 'em
I want
in.
to bring him in. So let's get to the good stuff. Let's get to Tyrion later. I mean, you say that you knew that was coming with Cersei. I didn't know it was coming, but I mean, you could definitely have seen it, no question.
Right, and I'm not saying that like as soon as Cersei went to the High Sparrow, as soon as that, I wasn't like, oh, this is going to add terribly for her. This, because he seemed very awesome at the beginning. He seemed nice. And
Sparrow.
The Sparrow seemed earnest and kind, and maybe I'm just projecting a lot onto Jonathan Price.
As soon as people do this.
Right, no, but I mean at the very beginning. But now, during this episode, as I'm watching it, I go, oh, this is Cersei. What makes you think you can make other people lose everything?
Yeah.
Right.
Because of their
doesn't get
past
to-
transgressions, and it's never going to come back and hit and bite you in the ass.
She's smart, but she does not get to totally win if it's strategizing two important people. She's just not that good.
Yes,
and when she had the scene with Marjorie, nope, you've gone too far. The sort of going there to gloat in her face, you moron. Why are you doing
that? Walk
that?
down the hall with the little smug smile.
No one
she
else
had.
would have done that. That's a Cersei thing to do.
And here's something. I feel like the people that I hate the most in the world are the ones with whom I have the most in common. That's why I don't know why that is. They say we hate not but ourselves. But the thing with me, Cersei and Marjorie, those two have so much in common because they both have that flaw. They both have that flaw of I won, and now I need to spike the football.
Right.
They want to enjoy it. They don't just want to win. They also want to get some pleasure.
And that's a
out of it.
generational thing because you look at Marjorie, or you look at the Thorn Queen, the Queen of Thorns.
Lady Olenna.
Yeah, Lady Olenna. You look at Lady Olenna and you look at Tywin Lannister, and those were two people that completely understood, and especially you saw it when they had their interaction, that they know what the priority is, which is let me just secure the high ground.
Once gotten a taunting penalty.
No, exactly.
Right, yeah.
And
Lady
so,
Olenna does like the occasional barb, but she
It's
doesn't go
different,
too
though.
far.
but she uses that to charm people.
Right, that's right. It's part of her thing.
To some extent, yeah.
Yeah. I think you guys are not quite getting it, though. Yes, it is Cersei making them. Typically, I don't think you're getting it. But like these guys are the most dangerous people we've met yet. So her mistake here isn't that she went down there to rub it in Marjorie's face. Jonathan Price is not in any way sticking up for Marjorie. It's just that you have aligned yourself with literally the worst people to align.
Crazy
And she missed it. I mean, she didn't get that she thought, like I can do business with this guy. We'll never quite speak of it, but she didn't think it through. And these guys, this is the kind he is. This is a Charles Manson-like character.
Yeah.
This is a guy who causes people, again, to give up their worldly possessions.
And he doesn't have that.
tattoo
He
what
doesn't
looks
have
like a
that.
swastika onto their forehead.
Yeah.
Like they are the worst of they are ISIS. They are literally, this is ISIS in action in
Star
Westeros.
Sticka. The Star Sticka. The seven-pointed Star Sticka.
It's a Star Sticka.
That's what we'll
Nice.
call it.
Nice, nice.
I mean, one of the things that frustrates me about her is, and I've said this in other episodes, is that she had a very good situation with the Tyrells if she could get over the fact that she's not the most important person in the kingdom anymore. If she actually cared about Tommen, he was in a great situation, and she decided to cast that off to create a new power in the city, which is the last thing she should want, and she chose the guy to lead it and to back it with no research into who he was or what his actual motivations were. It was so extremely short-sighted and stupid. They stopped the Faith Militant hundreds of years ago for a reason. And it also it frustrates me a little bit. Like, I think Jonathan Pryce is a great actor, obviously. He's a true believer, which is interesting. You don't have a lot of those in this series. And he might eventually just like the power. But I feel like they could do something to indicate why he's a true believer. Yeah, but you say true believer like it's a little bit of a compliment. Like, this guy, he might be the worst person we've met in Game of Thrones. Well, Ramsay,
no, I got it. But I mean, he is up there. He is literally picking people up, killing them because of what he has decided is their flaw, is their sinful flaw.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the Crusades. This is ISIS. This is when
it's very
militarized, and the Crusades, militarized faith. And like back in the, you realize the value of having your religious leaders go to a brothel afterwards.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that's fine.
Right.
That's fine. Yeah. That's what we need. That's what you want. Like, we preach too much, as always, against hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is good. It's solid. When you have true believers, the world becomes a very dangerous place.
Yeah, but the thing is, both the previous High Septon and the current High Sparrow Septon, they both are very simple people, in my view. Mm-hmm. It's just that, I would prefer the simple person whose equilibrium is, I get to wear awesome robes and fuck all the boys I want.
Right.
Or women I want at the brothel, versus the one who's simple. And that's what's great. I think some of the best moments in this episode were of people like, Lady Olenna and Cersei encountering this very simple, very, non-motivated by the materialistic.
Right.
Although possibly
power. Possibly power, and definitely power, but a different type of power than they're accustomed to watching people accrue.
Right. None of their stuff, none of their offers,
their mind math.
Right. They're like, she's like, what happens when we don't provide the wheat and everybody starves? I'll let them all know. And he gives that line, which, progressives initially respond to. You don't understand. You're the few, we're the many. And if that line independently taken, you're like, yeah, finally. And then you're, no. He's going to lock up everyone who has an impure thought.
Which is everyone.
Which is everyone. Right. So, I mean, it's just as bad, and it's arguably worse, because what you really want is the world of the powerful leading. You just want that powerful guy to have some sense. You want him to be Ned Stark or, unbelievably, Stannis. Like some guy who's like, no, I'm going to hire people to run the departments who kind of know what they're doing.
That's the thing. That's what I said.
Robert Baratheon,
to some extent. Sort of Robert Baratheon, but there was a little George Bush in Robert Baratheon.
Right, but there was also 17 years or whatever of peace.
There was 17 years of peace.
So that's the thing is when I'm watching this, I think to myself, like, I said it out loud. We watched this episode together. When I'm seeing it, I think, Jonathan Pryce, I get it. What you want to do is this very simple, let's get rid of all the people with the whole noble system. But then again, like, who the hell's going to run the damn economy? You have no idea how that's going to work. You're going to essentially you're going to let everybody go. And I don't know how extensive like the 7-pointed star is in terms of setting up, because a lot of the Bible is like, okay, don't mix this dirty thing with that dirty thing, at the beginning, and telling you how to set rules for setting up a society. But how much of that is in the seven? Yeah, how much of that is in the 7-pointed star?
I don't know. I've only read the beginning.
But it
gets kind of crazy.
But from just a storytelling point of view, it was a really nice turn when you realized, like, halfway through that conversation, what's happening here. And then
she doesn't catch it as early as you do.
Totally, right. Because, she's not as smart as many.
Right.
Like she's sort of, she's somehow, and eventually that sort of her lack of complete big picture thinking cost her. Like, she got in bed with the wrong people after getting in bed with the wrong people.
Yeah, right.
But we don't quite realize that at first. You think, oh, he's laying out a warning shot. He's telling her. And then you're like, oh no, she's not getting out of this room.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She's not getting out of the room today.
It's so good.
And we had talked on previous episodes about that he's there. Lancel's right by that guy's side. We know that they slept together. Like, it can only wait so long. Now, we also had beforehand her talk with Tommen. Tommen, for the first time perhaps ever, showing some strength, I guess, even if it was very Joffrey-ish. Like, I will go into that place, I will kill every person in there. I mean, it was lashing out the way a child would still.
Yeah, that's what it
But
is.
theoretically, he could still send in the troops and he could kill everyone.
Right. So the other thing now has Jonathan Pryce, because the world is not enough to Jonathan Pryce.
That's true. Although I can't tell if it's the world is not enough or if Tomorrow Never Dies with Jonathan Pryce.
I just took a shot at the world is not
Oh,
enough.
good,
I don't
'cause
know. I have literally no idea which one.
I
it
think
is.
it's the
two
same
that
movie.
Yeah, it's the same movie.
I'll
yeah.
watch GoldenEye.
It is Tomorrow Never Dies because he's the media. Amir's like, yes, it's Tomorrow Never Dies, and how dare you decry the Pierce Brosnan
exactly
era?
which Bond movie Jonathan Pryce was in. Whatever. It was funnier when it was The World Is Not Enough.
I think it's Jumpin' Jack Flash, to be honest. I think it's Jumpin' Jack Flash.
So, we get that scene with Tommen and Cersei, which indicates maybe that, again, yes, it's a little boy lashing out, but he might be finding some strength.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know the extent to which his mother has betrayed him, right?
Yes.
And so now you've taken his wife and you've taken his mother, he might act.
Yeah.
Yeah,
might
what's
act.
he going to
Or-
do?
or if
Is
he
it
doesn't,
Elena just going to double back and be like, all
Here's
right,
who's coming back. Here's who's coming back. Who? Uncle Dave.
flared jeans?
Uncle Kevin.
Uncle Kevin.
Yeah.
Right, I knew
Because he
Kevin.
needs somebody who is controlling him right now.
But Uncle Kevin will not stand for, one, he's incredibly disappointed in his son. Two, he won't stand for the Queen and the Queen Mother being locked up. The wife of a Lannister and a Lannister. These people.
He has pride.
He has pride. Like he doesn't like Cersei, but my hunch is and he'll recognize, because he's smart, right? He'll recognize the threat that the faith militant poses.
Yeah.
This
I
is
think.
so crazy because, like,
And
who's
he has
gonna?
to come back, otherwise why do we get him?
How send word to Uncle Kevin? Like, who's gonna do that? It's like when you're left at home
he
alone.
Tommen could.
Tommen could, but like, and also, is there a SEAL team that could just like, all right, you 7, go into the house of the
Kingsguard,
7,
I guess.
and fucking kill all those bastards.
Yeah.
His voice. The
Fucking
Kingsguard,
kill all those
theoretically.
bastards.
Although one is overseas in Bravos right now, but theoretically they could do it.
Again, they're all misjudging. I think this is anyway. All right, so that we've got that pretty much taken. Although if I'm Littlefinger, I'd get out of town. Like there's nothing not to keep. Like he's the guy who runs the brothels. Why aren't they grabbing him up?
Yeah, and you could always go back to your home to say, oh, maybe the reason I left is because I had to rally the Knights of the Vale to
come
bring them
save
back,
you.
to come save the day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
Bad
couldn't
idea.
trust a raven. What a great out. Oh, I couldn't trust a raven with this one.
Yeah, shifty creatures.
So Littlefinger has a terrific conversation with. Was that with Cersei this week? Or
No, it was with Lady
week.
Olenna.
Last week was with Cersei.
But last week's again that line of funny the choices we when Cersei says, I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm the one. Loras he was betrothed to me and he lay with a man and he said whatever it was. Funny the choices we make of who to lie with.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a
Jesus.
great moment of silence. Like everybody knows.
That is-
Everyone- literally everyone knows about her and Jaime.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. Yeah, that's Cersei just trying all the things like she did when she went into the cell with Marjorie. These are the things I'm trying to say to see how much the other person sees through me.
Right.
And she'll err on that side of like,
Yeah.
I'll keep trying to keep up the second face.
Real quick about Marjorie. What I like about Marjorie, and I think makes her different than Cersei, is Cersei would always play it. Like if the roles had been reversed, Cersei might have pretended to be grateful for the food, right?
Yeah.
But there's something more honest and pure about Marjorie. She's like, la 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 la. You did this. You did this. You did this. It's you. Nothing you can say here is going to help.
Right. But yeah,
And I'm not going to reveal, and I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of thinking anything other than I know it was you. I hate you, and if I can get out of here, I'll come get you.
Yeah.
It may not have been the smart play, but it's admirable.
Well, her
in some way.
crime now, I mean, look, perjuring yourself in front of the gods, I doubt that's a good thing, but it's not as bad as incest, I would imagine.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
So we had that nice, complicated conversation between the conspirators.
Although we don't really know coming out of it what they're going to do. We just know that they're linking back up at this point.
No,
Olenna
we get
and
that.
Littlefinger.
I think that Diana Rigg gets that the mayor of Baltimore didn't betray her. I think she, and especially after seeing the High Sparrow, she recognized. By the way, what Bond movie is Diana Reagan?
On Her Majesty's Secret
Really?
Service.
Was she a Bond
excellent.
girl?
She's excellent. Yeah, she marries Bond. In the movie.
Oh,
It's a great movie. It's,
Oh my God.
she's the best actress to play it. Like one,
She
among
did
the best actors.
emasculate him a lot in that. That was weird for Bond.
You should
That was
watch.
so sad at the end.
Yeah.
So that conversation, I think, especially after she goes and talks to Jonathan Pryce, Lady Oleana does, she recognizes, yeah, all right, this is Littlefinger's not my enemy. This guy is,
Yeah.
and Cersei is.
Yeah.
I think.
Though, yeah,
But
I
what
think
they're
she
gonna do
understands that at some point, at any point, Littlefinger can become her enemy.
Of course, of
She's
course.
just like, oh, crap. At least the enemy of my enemy right now.
She still holds the purse strings. It's like people can say all they want. I don't care. Do whatever you will. She still has this huge card to play.
Yeah.
And-
Exactly. Like the High Sparrow can say that he doesn't care about the food, and maybe he doesn't right now, but I think that he would after a few months of nobody eating.
Yes, that's right. And remember, Cersei has also sent her father away, presumably to die. I think in Bravos.
Oh, sent her father away.
Yeah.
Sent
Sent her
Olenna's
son
away.
away. Right, Marjorie's father. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't seen him. And we apparently are not going to because they're apparently never going to have an Arya scene again. Because she wasn't in this episode and she wasn't in the previous
Nah,
one.
she'll come back. They plotted out pretty well.
Yeah, she hit her sword.
I get sad when I don't see her for 2 episodes. And that arc. But that's in a different episodes.
Yeah.
Let's keep it within what we're talking about.
All right, so then
here.
we got that. We got Littlefinger. So Littlefinger, I think, should leave town, which means he's got some choices. He can go back to the Vale. He could go to Winterfell. He could check on.
My question is, so what is the gift that Littlefinger really gives to Olenna?
Oh, that's a gift as well.
There is, but is that a gift? Because I don't know what part Littlefinger has in that discussion
So
over.
he gives her information. The same thing. But what was the information?
Well, what's the information is something she already knows and everybody already knows. And I don't think Littlefinger has any. He says there's another handsome young boy that I turned over to someone in the same way that I gave my male brothel keeper, who slept with your
Wait,
grandson.
so what information did he give?
He just essentially was saying, in my interpretation, he's just saying, don't worry about it because, Cersei is going to get hers because she slept with her cousin, who's now part of the Faith Militant.
Yeah.
But the question is, what part did Littlefinger have in all the divulging of that
that-
information?
I mean, he knew it, but it didn't affect the outcome.
Littlefinger didn't convince cousin Lance to go talk to Jonathan Sparrow about
Exactly.
it. Right.
That's what I'm saying. It's like me
Unless he
saying,
did.
"Oh, you know what I gave you today?
he wouldn't.
The sunrise." That shit was going to happen anyway, man.
Right,
Yeah.
Lancel doesn't need to hear from Littlefinger to decide to play this card. It's inconceivable, I think, that's what it would have.
I mean, potentially
Unless
that's
maybe
why.
we find out that Littlefinger's the one that hooked Lancel up with
The Faith
Cersei,
Militant.
or with Cersei in the first place 3 years ago.
Maybe, but they still had that clash, Lancel.
That's true.
Yeah, no, they didn't.
Yeah,
That was.
I think we honestly just have to wait to see what comes out of it. I don't think that we have enough information.
All right, so let's get to Sansa because Littlefinger might head back there. But so there was a lot of talk, a lot of talk in the feminist world, of which I consider myself basically part of. I think we all do. So a lot of anger at the way that previous episode ended. That Sansa's the sexual assault on Sansa was inappropriate. It was bad for her character. It caused that one blog to stop covering the show.
Yeah.
Because they thought.
Mary Sue, I think it is.
Yeah, I think that's right. And
Claire McCaskill's not a viewer anymore.
is that right?
Yeah, she
so,
tweeted that.
So like everybody, like there was legitimate anger at that. I thought about it. I respect that point of view, but I didn't agree with it in the end. I thought that, look, this is what happens. It was time for a reminder of what a horrible place this can be for women, even women even powerful women, let alone non-powerful women have nothing. And I thought the key was, how does Sansa respond to it? And I think there was some thought that, oh, look, we're going to see Theon, a man, is going to have to bail Sansa out. But that is not what has happened. Sansa is, in fact, going to have to get out of this situation 100% on her own.
Also, because I wasn't here for that episode's recap. There, scenes like that bear out should be in service of resolving some kind of question. And there was still a question after Littlefinger left Sansa in the charge of Ramsay after having said, you have won him over.
Right.
And the question is, all these very bloody things like the Red Wedding are like, who's on whose side? How is this all shaken out? and we don't see her get raped. We see her get every suggestion of it. Maybe there's a sad thing about showing it on Theon's face, but like, the alternative is to show the whole scene. So we didn't see that.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting way to show it through Theon and make us wonder about, is Theon coming back? Is he?
Yeah, and I was listening to the Grantland podcast, and they were saying like, oh, this equates Theon's pain with Sansa's pain. No, that's not it at all.
No, it didn't. It didn't in any way. Nobody would think that. It was just an interesting storytelling device, and it was a way for us not to see it. Also, which is critical.
And also, today this
to
episode,
make it not titillating. There's nothing titillating about that scene, which is
right.
Which is what.
Yes, absolutely. And then in this episode, we see bruises on Sansa's arm, which show there's a passage of time. I think these are good storytelling devices.
Yes.
Yeah. And again, I would have understood it more if it was, oh, look, a man has to come to somebody else's rescue, but he didn't come to a rescue. I thought when he took the candle, he was going to go put it up in the tower.
Yeah, it was a possibility. And look, also, I think
especially after her scene of, you are not Reek. You are Theon Greyjoy. You are the son of, like, she's trying to build him up.
Yeah.
Like, she's saving him, trying to save him.
One of the things that frustrates me a little bit, I understand why for many people rape is a more salient issue than murder, because more people are raped than are murdered, so more people have to experience either being raped than being murdered or knowing someone who it happened to. But I think it's just that we see sex and violence so differently in this culture, which has the consequence of movies become R for showing, boobs instead of showing violence. But like, Daenerys has set multiple people on fire, and nobody was saying, well, her character has already set someone on fire. Why did she need to murder another person? It wasn't necessary for her character. And we give a pass to murder and torture and flaying over and over. But sexual violence, you get one, and then after that, that's too much. Why is murder not as bad as rape in this context?
That's a great question. It's a question that we've talked about on What the Flick. And on the Young Turks. You're right. It's crazy that we're able to show people being killed in horrible ways.
Cannibalized.
Right, but we cannot show a man's penis. But that doesn't change the sort of, and I think it's a little bit what we were just talking about. A little bit that there's in some movies, and I think not here in Game of Thrones, but sexual assault has had some movies make it seem almost sexy, and they take the brutal violence out of it. Mm-hmm. And if we keep seeing it again and again and again, and it's not too significantly, I think you need a significantly in there, further a storyline, then I get why it's a legitimate complaint. Mm-hmm. But that's separate from your argument, which is good too, but that doesn't mean you're not arguing for more sexual assault.
No, I'm just saying that we should be somewhat consistent in terms of what shocks and horrifies us, I think. Yeah, I think it's interesting that rape is more horrifying to us than murder or torture.
It's weird, because I also see every tragedy, it's such a thing that happens in drama that someone gets killed.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's not such a thing that happens in drama that someone gets raped.
That's right.
I think, there's something about that where it's maybe it's just so crazy, it's such a crazy thing that people getting killed that we're I get it. That's just it's just
we're
a
used
trope.
To it. It's part of what happens. People get killed in every movie.
Though I do think that when, Benioff and Weiss see the outrage at the end of the previous episode, and they're like, oh my God, we just gave the green light to the final cut on this, the girl from Skins is about to get raped, Gilly's about to get raped, sort of, oh God, that's gonna suck.
Yeah. Right. Oh, right.
I will say that in this episode, I would be more outraged at what happened in this episode from a sexual violence and female point of view, at that she almost got raped and now she's ready to fuck another guy.
Yeah.
What the hell?
But again, like I said when we were watching it, you have to put it in the context of this is a girl who her entire life has been being raped by her father. That is all that she has known.
Yeah, so why is she going to have sex with Sam?
She's wanted to have sex with Sam for quite a while.
Also, there was a different power dynamic. He is laid up, he is helpless, she completely not only started this, she finished it. It was her choice, her power in this completely. The timing may have been.
That's the thing. It's
right
after
3 days.
Yeah,
72 hours.
Essentially, what happened is I've read that criticism of of like a storytelling progression in other works, where the criticism is like, why does this happen so often where like if a guy saves a woman from being raped, she's like physically and sexually attracted to him in these weird, like misogynistic storytelling devices.
It's really common, yeah.
That's something that I saw exactly play out here, which just was like that's not how they should handle this. And that signals more to me some kind of misunderstanding. And who am I to say?
Yeah, I mean, here obviously I wish Anna were here.
Yeah.
I wish someone who wasn't us were here. So yeah, I hear you. Those are both. They were problems, I think. But I did at least buy that it was her.
Yes.
It was totally her choice, her power.
Yeah.
Sam was literally sort of, as helpless as a man can be, and also he wasn't.
Although he stood up again after getting an ass beating worse than any of us has ever experienced. That was a brutal beating. He gets up and is ready to die just on the chance to save her, which for his character, I mean, we've seen him like quickly in reaction kill a White Walker, but this was like a conscious choice he had to make.
I can't even remember how did he get out of it.
Get out of what?
How did that?
The wolf came in.
The wolf.
And they had just enough budget for the wolf to come in and growl,
And then it was gone.
and not enough budget for the wolf to like be like, all right, you guys cool, walk away. And you didn't hear it.
But it was. I love that shot of him
like
standing up.
when they show the old Disney movies where they use the same animation sequence in multiple films. Maybe this was like you
might
just
have
find
been.
it's like another,
Right. No, you would think we'd like when the wolf saved Bran. From the assassin, like it curled up in bed with him.
Yeah, we did not hear.
So then Sam, like you would think this was a sign of what's the number 2 guy? That's the first guard or whatever.
Alistair Thorne?
Yeah,
he's
so
the first ranger.
Alistair Cook, the first ranger. So when he, he's just a bad dude. Like you thought maybe he was, because when he let the bald coward be executed and he sort of stood with Jon on that. That maybe he was an okay guy. But here in this moment where they should be reflective, this 80-year member of the Night's Watch dies.
Aemon Targaryen.
Right, when Aemon dies, I mean, he doesn't take, and Sam gives a nice speech. Like, I honestly thought we might get a good speech time.
But I wonder if that's...
But no, not quite the opposite.
You're losing all your friends, Charlie.
You run out of friends.
You run out of friends.
And he is very quickly.
But like he didn't say you ran out of friends, also I'm stabbing you now. It was just like, maybe it's like Aemon used to tell you this stuff, but like I'm just telling you, you ain't got no friends. And maybe that's as warm as this guy's capable of getting.
Maybe it felt
the worst thing to do. Yeah, I get that it's threatening, and you're probably right the way that this stuff plays out in Game of Thrones, where it's like, no, that you want there to be some kind of warm underbelly to a lot of stuff, but it's not there.
It's not there, right?
This is a Game of Thrones.
Yeah. But similarly threatening, we did have what seemingly a random reference to Jon Snow being the Lord Commander by Ramsay, who, if we recall, Ramsay 2 seasons ago sent a couple of people up there to kill Jon, right? Or to find the boys or whatever. But it's not impossible that he has planted more people amongst the Night's Watch.
Well, we know he has. We know that Jon signed the order.
Oh, yeah, to even send it to the Bolton.
To send, right, and when Sam was like, we need the people.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't know really why Ramsay would care necessarily. Like, Jon has never left the Wall. He has given no sign that he's going to try to save Sansa or anything like that.
But he was offered the wardenship of the North, and in the same way that Ramsay himself has...
He wouldn't know that.
He wouldn't know that, but Ramsay has experience with bastards being legitimized to continue family lines.
Ramsay would unquestionably see a surviving, powerful Stark as head of the Night's Watch.
Also, especially after that story about the naturalization, a little tense convo we had with Sansa.
But that was the first news of one Stark kid to learn that they're not the only Stark kid.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it's not, he's not a fool, but she was, she had a Jon?
Oh, yeah.
She was like, and she was the least close to Jon,
if
I'm recalling correctly.
Yes.
But, because she was sort of,
kept
prim and proper, and, Arya and Jon were close. She was the warrior girl. But that was still a moment of, really? The wolf's not that far from here.
A Stark alive? I've never heard such a thing.
Although, to be honest, she should have still thought he was there. She knows that he went to the Wall. She might not know he's Lord Commander, but she apparently just forgot that he existed.
Yeah.
He went to the Wall.
It was a weird acting moment where it's like, you saw the actress go like, all right, in a second, I'm going to have to look back as though I've learned something new. So I'm going to look away until I hear Jon Snow, and then go, oh, really?
That's how I've learned to be photographed.
How's that?
I can't smile. I can't like. So I have to go like 3, 2, 1. That's the only way I can do it. Right, you got to do it. You got to do it right then, or I can't do it.
What a good
Pure
moment.
blue steel, basically.
That's right. And so Tyrion and Jorah. Now this is now the second straight episode. This was I thought a much stronger episode than the last, which was episode 46 overall in the series, and I thought would definitely be in that bottom 6, the previous one, if not
Probably.
bottom 3.
Yes, for sure.
And then this episode still had one scene that seemed like from that episode, one moment of, Suits or CSI Tucson. One, like, oh, it's a TV show. And that was Tyrion and Jorah having that fight on a massively accelerated pace, like the last 13 minutes of Law and Order. Like, oh, this episode needs to end. We got to wrap this story up. So all of a sudden, they're there, and what do you know? That's the one that Daenerys is at.
Yeah,
like
I hate
a bit
that.
of coincidence,
right?
yeah.
And then he comes out and he moves in a rather lumbering pace.
But he's supposed to be the lumbering bear fighter. He's not a water dancer. Like, he's a brute, basically.
I got you, but those guys were younger and they went down too easy.
He's so experienced.
Everything was just so, but he hasn't fought lately.
Well, but really fast, related to that,
I resent that they said he's nearly 60 and no one was like, that guy's not 60.
no, he's not 60.
53.
Yeah,
Come on.
But I had forgotten when they were selling him in that scene. I had forgotten that he killed 50 men with his flaming sword, and he killed Khal Drogo in single combat. I'd completely forgotten.
You'd forgotten that,
since the
yeah,
first season.
for sure.
But he killed.
No, he didn't.
No, that's how they
That
sold
was
it.
the
That's what they said.
Also,
Yeah,
his
you
penis
liar.
is
That's right.
15 inches long and barbed. He's killed 50
He
men
can
with his
strangle a
penis.
dwarf with it. Here, watch.
But he did kill a Dothraki, right? That
He
part
did,
was
yeah,
good.
Blood Rider.
And that's
that's
what
not
he
good
said.
enough.
And
Right.
yeah, because these are all like bits of truth from
Right.
him.
A little bit, yeah.
Which
But I
like-
think that Jaqen H'ghar would have slapped him for every one of those, though.
Yeah, exactly.
But still, that scene, just the accelerated nature of that, him running out, like apparently the door's not locked, you can just run out. And
Yeah.
then the guy lets Tyrion out and he comes and saves it the last second when she's like, get away with him, and like, no, what about me?
Right.
Like that was a
What a-
lame TV show.
It was
scene.
like the
Yeah,
Dorne
that was-
scenes from last
It was like
we don't
exactly
want
like the Dorne-
coincidence.
Like it was those people again rode. One of them rode 1,000 miles. The other one rode a couple hundred miles, and they both arrived in the middle of at noon in the Water Garden at
So
the same
how did
time.
you
it's
feel
not
about
good.
the time north of the Wall when Mance Rayder was about to slay Jon Snow, and then that's when Stannis shows up? Remember that?
Yes, I
didn't
Similar
mind it.
to that. I didn't mind that as much as I
But
minded this. I also, because more ridiculous things happened
But
here.
let me say
Like
real
the-
quick about that, because when Stannis came, they gave us that scene. There was at least epic awesomeness
Yes.
to it.
Yeah.
There was
the-
everybody
all
coming
the
in from
troops,
everywhere.
yeah.
Right. So, and maybe they'd been there a while and were waiting for the right moment. But either way, there was at least an epic awesomeness that had. That here it was just, these are small scenes with just
Right.
wild coincidences that clearly serve to move the plot forward.
And
And
so-
they've managed to avoid that so effectively.
They don't deliver that epicness. I wonder if the second unit director, who's in like warm country,
Right.
in Spain or wherever,
Right, yeah.
is the one who's just like beefing it on all these things, like
Maybe.
just totally messing up. Because I thought one of the most laughable moments in any episode, and there's a lot of hilarious moments in this show that are intentionally so and well executed, but this just didn't make any sense to me when frickin' Tyrion needs to get cut free. Like, normally when two characters share a knowing glance at each other, like, we know what they know.
Right.
This one, it was just like a big guy, a lumbering
know what that's
oaf,
about.
cut him free and was just like, yeah. Was it to say, like, I'm bigger than you?
Right.
Together, I'm a oaf and you're an imp.
Yeah, I don't know what
Together,
that was
we're
about.
two normal-sized people.
Totally right. Yeah, maybe.
So ridiculous.
Yeah, right. Again, right. If there'd been an episode where that guy, they'd made eye contact, or Tyrion had said something funny or made him laugh, and that guy had freed him from a different circumstance, maybe. But here it was like, you got to do it now because he needs to get out there. And I mean,
Yeah.
then like,
There was no good reason for the guy to do what he did. There was nothing set up to create that. Or maybe it was a removed scene, but if that's the case, you should not have removed it.
Or maybe Jorah needed to realize, I got to go out there, the queen's there, and then he runs back and cuts Tyrion because he knows, I'm going to need you in a second.
Yeah.
You know, anything, but anyway, it
Wait
felt,
for me. Something like that. Like, wait.
Right. Hold. Right. You'll know when you're needed.
Yeah.
You know.
It was weird.
It just didn't feel right, and it was the second straight episode with a sort of an action scene that didn't feel right.
But I did like the parts of this action scene. I like the idea of the mace and throwing something at the chest of the mace guy. So that he's like, oh God, I can't swing this anymore. And then you're able to go. Like,
Yeah. Well, that shows his experience. He can improvise in that way. And the fact that he did it all non-lethally because he understands Daenerys so well. Like, I minded the action of the Dorne thing last episode. I didn't mind the action of this. I didn't like the coincidence, but the action I thought was fine.
The action was okay.
I loved the helmet. Pulling the helmet off and hitting the guy with his helmet.
So presumably Daenerys is going to realize the value of at least getting information from Tyrion, and then we also got to find out where where's the
whisper?
Where's what's his name? The ball.
Varys?
Varys, yeah.
Lord Varys.
Well, I assume he continued, I would guess. But what I really love about, perhaps it's the coincidence, is that you have in this one episode, you have her being united at the end with I am Tyrion Lannister. And like, I think we all agree that he could be a great influence on her and could possibly cause her to finally fucking go to Westeros. That would be nice. But we also have set up the need for him because she has been stripped of, she got rid of Jorah, she was stripped of Barristan Selmy. And now who's the man in her life? It's the mercenary.
Gather all the great masters and wise masters and worthy masters you can find. And slaughter them all.
I am a queen, not a butcher.
All rulers are either butchers or meat.
And she was listening to him.
Yeah, right.
And we know that it's the coin flip. You know, is she going to go crazy? Tyrion might be the only person now who can stop that from happening.
Have we talked about...
That's right.
Like, what I do like about Meereen, the Meereen arc, is its practice it's Westeros light.
Yeah.
It's Westeros practice. And it's all these things that definitely Tywin was able to learn and Lady Olenna was able to learn over years and years.
Yes.
And
military campaigns.
Yeah. And Daenerys gets to make these mistakes in leadership, trying to find out how much lethal force to use versus diplomacy.
I spent 5 years in Charleston, South Carolina, learning how to be on air.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. You can
It's
mess
that.
up.
I was at Current TV for, I think, 23 years before anyone saw
unqualified.
anything.
I'm not fit to be here.
No, you're definitely not. Yeah.
No. So, John, if you would
Wait,
please.
so this is the big time?
This is the big time.
This is it?
This is the no, John, don't. Well, now I know you're a rookie because you're hardwired into here.
Shit, I would just
Yeah,
that would
no,
be so
you can't get
embarrassing.
up. But that's.
But yeah, and we get to see it in real time, which is cool.
Yeah, she has this practice time, and yeah, I think she absolutely needs Tyrion, and now there's a possibility for her to get someone who's like, all right, you've done very well for yourself, and you have dragons, which is great. But this is how you deal with people and things.
Nice moment, I thought, of seeing what happens when you free slaves, but have no real economic model for giving them power, right? And then so you open the fighting pits, and they're like, no, only free men will fight there. And so they're like, all right, here's a nickel.
Yeah.
That's great. We're paying you for your fight
For the rest of your life.
Right. But they're still right.
In much
no
the same
difference
way
at
that
all.
Scientology doesn't have to pay taxes.
That's right.
That is a
Exactly.
loophole they've found.
Right. So
in the slaver system. Still, you can wear chains on your body.
Exactly.
But it will be a pretty significant moment when we get the first meaningful conversations with Daenerys and Tyrion. I mean, this is now 5 seasons of 2 significant characters.
People's favorite characters.
Right, favorite characters, very, very slowly working their way to each other, and now we have that. And Matt hates I don't think you've been on many of these, but Matt hates and doesn't trust Jorah, whereas John and I think Jank too, we're all like, no, we like. I sort of like Jorah.
Here's the
Although
thing.
they didn't come back to, he's still got the
Right,
still got
Jorah's that person who might sleep with you and go like, ugh, you should get tested now. He has a disease and he's not saying anything.
Yeah.
Right, but we'll see when he chooses to reveal that.
And really fast, I don't know if it's necessarily worth discussing too much, but speaking of the stone skin thing, Stannis is in a really bad way. His mercenaries are leaving him now because they waited too long and they're in the middle of a blizzard, and now he has this potential out that he could sacrifice his daughter. And people are starting to love Stannis. I imagine he would lose a lot of those new fans if he was to sacrifice her. He says no
in the world
for
of
now.
Westeros, or you mean
Well, that
in
too, but I mean like
television
people, like
watchers?
Yeah, I mean, because I have so little faith in him that again, because the power of a religious zealot, and she is Jonathan Pryce, just sexier.
Yeah.
Although Jonathan Pryce is not an unsexy
Not bad.
older
No,
man.
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
She turned him
Magnetic
down
personality.
too. Jonathan Pryce probably would have gone along with it.
Yeah.
But she is a
Suffering.
crazy religious zealot, and in fact, so she simply says, who's got the king's blood, your daughter, sacrifice her, and then you'll have the power again. You've lost a little power for some reason, because that's how it works. And so he initially says no, but he's under her spell, and you love him for initially saying no and throwing her out. But 2 days from now, when 1,000 more men leave and the snows get worse, and he's not listening to Davos, then maybe he'll look at his daughter and think about it. I don't know. I hope not, because then that's largely
dark.
unrecoverable.
Has she ever been wrong? That's the thing about the Red Witch, is like, has she ever been wrong about something?
She always
The
gives
answer's
herself
no.
outs.
Or is she giving herself outs? That's the thing, is we've never followed her plan all the way
Yeah, we don't.
and had her be wrong. That's something that happens all the time to every other character, or at least one significant time, and we've seen it bear
She
out.
said he could take King's Landing. Now, her out was, you didn't bring me. I would say that's a
But
indistinguishable
she did
difference,
say,
but-
bang me, I'll give you a baby, your brother's gonna die. And that happened with
That's true.
very significant magic that bore out,
Yeah.
Yeah,
as she said.
And the other
got it,
kings
but I
did
mean-
die.
But yes, she killed. But her brother. Their brother died because she had it done. She killed Renly.
Yeah.
Right, but and so it's, why don't you
Trust
but
her more?
why don't trust me, and these things will happen for you.
Yeah,
but
but
also she doesn't get cold. Like, these are very impressive magic things.
she's a
that
woman.
And she could, but like I'm saying, everyone else has had a trust me moment that failed.
I got it. But also everyone who is, and we see it in Jonathan. Everyone who believes that they speak to or have a real insight into a god, the gods, whichever one she, as always in everything, is full of shit.
Right, and also, the Red Witch has confessed to, I think, Stannis' wife. I don't remember exactly what scene that was, but there is a scene where she says, "Listen, it's not always magic. It's sometimes I use weird potions to get people to hallucinate and show them what they need to see."
And by the way, it can also be the third option that she says, I have this magic because I speak for a god. She could have the magic, but still have no connection to a god.
Look, we saw her magic. Her magic is undeniable.
It's
right?
dope.
The magic is real, but she's a fraud. They're all frauds. So at some point, will her plan work? No, but it could help, and I guess there is some power you get from. Who's the other guy? The other one was a Roberts bastard, right? Who they then let go, right?
Yeah, Gendry, who's, for all we know, is still rowing
Right,
slowly
somewhere.
Right.
along the coast.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
So we
I did like the bronze scene. I thought that was
so
good.
Why did you like the bronze scene?
I
I don't know.
What did you like
It's just-
about it
there's
the most?
something, there was the atmosphere.
Yeah, uh-huh.
I think was good. I liked his
I don't
singing
know her
voice.
name either, but
I am getting so old. I thought that was gratuitous. I did.
It was gratuitous, but
because there were 6 different shots, it seemed like, of just like the same person on their tripod, just like panning down,
Right, and so what?
and the same editor going like, "All right, before we get to vagina."
So if that doesn't foster some sort of Bronn connection with that woman, who is quite beautiful, she's correct. Then it's just nothing. Then it's just because we saw the thing last week that obviously if Bronn got that Matt
Poisoned.
picked up on, that was very clear as soon as he said it that he was right. That must have meant that he was poisoned. But then look at that. Hey, look, there's a way we show this beautiful naked woman, and then there's a potion.
So why?
Assuming
That's
that
a
is
really
actually
good
the
point.
answer.
The point.
There's got to be a why to that. Otherwise, then it's pretty
Didn't
lame.
Bronn's betrothal get voided for this Dorne trip?
Jamie was like, "I'll get you somebody better. I'll get you a more beautiful princess and a more beautiful castle."
And so now we look and we wait.
maybe-
Do you think it's his daughter? No, it's this Dornish woman, and he is the perfect person for a Dornish person, at least
He keeps singing about him.
He keeps singing about him like they drive you crazy, and they love. I mean, look, the Dorns, they love to fight and they love to have sex, right?
Yes.
He used a
And
different
so does
word.
Bronn.
Right, and that's so. I mean, Bronn is perfect there, and she is beautiful, and she does seem to like him. So I hope that starts something. Otherwise, then it was just an effort to introduce us to a new beautiful character. As our producer Amir pointed out, some of the lead actresses on the show who were willing to show some nudity early, we now know aren't. Good for them. So it's like they've hired new people who are like, okay, great, we'll hire you, but here's the deal: you got to take your top off.
Yeah, I like the other familiar Game of Thrones dynamic that they're setting up, which is, part of me wants to believe that now there's a connection between Bronn and the Sand Snake, but is there? Or is she just using this power dynamic of man wants woman?
Maybe, but he's
To
sort
her
of an
benefit.
unimportant person. To,
Right, but like,
he's powerless.
I like
But he is a
filing that
fighter,
away.
and he's in that room
Jaime
with
would
her.
come rescue him to a point.
Theoretically,
right?
he probably would now. New Jaime would.
Yeah, new Jaime, but I mean, but eventually he'd be like, well, he was a mercenary, and
Yeah.
that's the way
Shit happens.
that's the way it goes.
But
yeah.
I still think I've been reading a lot of criticism of this show and how sometimes people think that it's like this nihilistic, like the worst thing will happen no matter what. And mostly this is just a response to a Grantland podcast that I listen to and have had no out for discussing. But like there's like this like the worst thing will happen, and maybe that's why people like Game of Thrones. But I just fundamentally reject that argument.
I agree.
The reason this is a land of sigils and words is because each house has their point of view on how to succeed, and they're all utilizing it. Plus a generational dynamic of did this generation know, or is this generation better and has learned more? But they're all fighting based on their sigils and words to find power in a place. And every time there's a failure, I think it's just a failure of that philosophy that each house has. And I like watching that bear out. And maybe it's timing, and maybe it's a fundamental flaw of that house's philosophy. But that's what's compelling about this show, is everyone's just trying to get theirs. And they're fighting based on what they've been taught and what they've learned. And those are two different things.
I still think that it is fundamentally about the Stark children.
You do?
That's still a fundamental show about the adventures, I think, very simply, the adventures of a great lord and his 5 kids. And they're all split up, and then it's still there, the crux of the show. They are who we care about, and they are the ultimate chance at, we have obviously Tyrion and Daenerys are incredibly relevant, but the Stark kids are they are the emotional backbone of the show. Every single one of them is ultimately fairly principled, fair, understand. They're good people.
Even Arya
They're
still.
They're all good people. No, Arya still. She, as we learned from her saying, I left him to die because I hated him. No, you actually cared very much for him because you're an empathetic, caring person.
I like that the show noticed that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that was
But
great
still, like they've done a very good job since the Starks were established of saying, but the Lannisters have some points. And some of them are fighting for good stuff. Now that quickly they pulled that out from under us, but I still think Tyrion Lannister is a protagonist to me.
And so is Jaime, amazingly. Again, and the show is also clearly about letting the sort of the evil people get theirs, and we've now gotten it twice with Cersei, which was great. We all love it. We all want it to happen. We want to see it happen to Ramsay. So yeah, I agree. That's it. I don't think it's just a nihilistic show where we wait for the worst thing to happen. I don't. And if it turns out to be that, I'll be disappointed.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Only three episodes left, which means theoretically only 2 episodes left until they drop the hammer in episode 9. Whatever big huge thing that happens is going to happen. But I think
assuming Stannis Winterfell.
I think we're going to see.
right.
I think we're going to see Uncle Kevin again too. Kevin.
Yeah, Tyrion, Tywin, Kevin.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. See you next week.